news and rumors.
MCU is kicking off its Phase 4. We could not be more excited about it. This is what we've been waiting for. This is like at the core of when I started this podcast. We knew this was coming. Huge thanks to The Wrap. I say we've got Hollywood covered. 10 Marvel films and TV shows coming in 2021 and how these movies could affect the MCU. So it's not just these 10 Marvel things. They also kind of give a little insight to how will this fit into all of the pieces. So starting us off, let's just go through the 10. WandaVision coming up January 15th. Like Andy was saying, we're less than 10 days away. So what's the last thing we've seen as MCU fans? Phase 3, the Infinity Saga, if you will, wrapped up. Infinity War and Endgame. We had Spider-Man Far From Home in there, but we had the pandemic. We had this whole year off from filmmaking, kicking off the next part of the story with WandaVision. Elizabeth Olsen has been confirmed for Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. That movie's not set to come out till 2022. Kat Dennings, Darcy, in Thor, she's going to be in this show too. So it's like, okay, now they're tying in people from the Thor world. To our number 2, we have Falcon and Winter Soldier coming March 19th. Boy, oh boy, are we excited for this one, folks. This is going to be Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan. We'll see them battle against their anarchist group known as Flag Smashers, while the U.S. government tries out a new Captain America in this. It's going to be interesting because Captain America is no longer around, and the void has got to be filled. How could it affect the MCU? We won't be shocked if the series ends up with Sam officially taking over the Captain America moniker. We do know that he's wearing his outfit from like more comic friendly. It's like white and red. Looks pretty sick. Daniel Bruhl and Emily Van Camp also reprised their MCU roles as Baron Zemo. So that's that bad guy from Civil War. And then Sharon Carter, that's Peggy Carter's niece that Captain America has like a fling with in his movies. So we're talking about like it's going to be a lot of the Winter Soldier world, right? It's plays off of the Captain America films. This is going to help audiences understand what's happening. So when you're watching Falcon Winter Soldier, you understand that, okay, this is like Captain America world. This is like, oh, remember Peggy Carter? Oh, remember what happened in Winter Soldier? That's when that knowledge is going to like help you feel a little more grounded, which speaking of which, our next show that'll be dropping in May, easily, hands down, most excited for this out of what we've talked about so far is Loki. And this is just great. I mean, this is going to be the Loki that we see in Avengers Endgame, and they're in a different timeline. 2012, the attack on New York from the first Avengers film is happening. That Loki is captured. He's bad guy Loki. He hasn't lived any of the experiences in Thor: The Dark World. Lessons learned. We're not getting that. We're getting young ass Loki, and he's like a bad guy still. And he picks up this Tesseract and disappears in Endgame. That's the show we're getting. How could it affect the MCU? Given that Loki is still very much dead, this alternate timeline version will not only introduce us to the Time Variance Authority, like Time Police, it could also explain if Steve Rogers had any help when he returned all the Infinity Stones at the end of Endgame, and how he was able to hop back into the main timeline to give Sam his shield. Holy moly. This is exactly why I'm so excited to see this show. We're going to see sides of Loki we've never seen before. We've seen him be this like big tyrant guy, this trickster god. Here we see him like in a politician's outfit with like a crown on. There's like a samurai next to him, a Viking. Red, it's going to be very much man on the run. All right, this was originally supposed to be the first piece of the Phase 4 kicking off. Black Widow coming out finally 1 year late on May 7th. She teams up with her Russian family, back from the Black Widow program, including Red Guardian, that's Stranger Things, David Harbour, and a Russian version of Captain America, who will battle Taskmaster. Here's the big thing. How could it affect the MCU? While we think this will most likely be a send-off for Romanoff, so it looks like maybe they're just going to be like, here's a new Black Widow. It's her sister, and she is already confirmed for some of these other Marvel shows, like I think She-Hulk, maybe like Falcon Winter Soldier, maybe. Either way, she's in the mix. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I know nothing about this. So I want to read this straight from the wrap. Coming out July 9th. It's going to be following the Loki series. Newcomer Simu Liu makes his debut as Shang-Chi, a skilled martial artist. We're going to get the real Mandarin. The Mandarin was the villain of Iron Man 3. The Mandarin ended up being like this paid actor. The real villain was like this douchebag billionaire that could like burn people with his bare hands, and he like changed Pepper Potts into one of these things, and she survived like a 30-story fall. We all remember Iron Man 3, okay? I've heard a lot of people complain about how they did the Mandarin, because the Mandarin is like this really badass Marvel character. This is it. They're going to give it like the real deal. How will it affect the MCU?
The original Iron Man, that the Ten Rings was the group that actually captured Tony Stark in like the first 5 minutes of the movie. It's actually kind of like it says in this last sentence, like this is a group that unwittingly started the Avengers. So
next up, Miss Marvel, coming late 2021. Iman Vellani will star as the teenage superhero Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, a Pakistani American who became the first Muslim superhero in Marvel Comics. Wow, that's dope. How could it affect the MCU? Kamala Khan will become the first character introduced in a Disney Plus series to reappear in an upcoming film. Like Paris, Vellani will reprise her role for Captain Marvel 2. Eternals, an immortal race that has been on Earth for thousands of years, comes out of hiding to battle their nemesis, the Deviants. It features Angelina Jolie, Salma Hayek, Richard Madden. The logline references the same kind of tragedy that happens following the events of Endgame. Major universe ramifications of what's ever happening here. So like on the scale of like, is this going to affect the MCU? It sounds like it could potentially affect the MCU in the largest way. It could like bring in mutants from like a big event that happens across the universe or something. Yeah, it almost has like Power Ranger vibes, but like on a massive like cosmic scale. Like it's like, here's the team. We all have a color. Getting to the end of the year here. Got a couple left. Hawkeye, late 2021. Original Avenger Jeremy Renner returns as Clint Barton, who trains Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld, to be, you guessed it, the new Hawkeye. He also has to come to grips with his murderous turn as Ronin. Yeah, because at some point you got to look in the mirror and be like, I killed so many people, but like I'm also a dad. So I hope we get a lot of that in the show. How could it affect the MCU? We'll bet this is another swan song for an OG Avenger, and just as much of a setup for Kate Bishop to take on the larger role in the MCU. Maybe we'll finally learn about Budapest. That would be dope. The story that they've been teased out since, the first Avengers. Excited for it. I've said it before. It's a bow and arrow show, so it's going to be about bow and arrow stuff. Yeah, it'll be cool. Like I said, not going to jump up and down just yet. And you know what that probably means? It'll be probably one of those shows that surprises us and is one of the best ones. That's usually how that works. They still haven't titled this thing. The untitled Spider-Man 3 movie with Tom Holland is going to drop December 17th. Tom Holland is back for a third adventure that will feature a ridiculous cast that includes the likes of Jamie Foxx's Electro, that's from Sony's Spider-Man, by the way, Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, and Alfred Molina's Otto Octavius, that's from Tobey Maguire's Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, just FYI, also a Sony property. Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange fills the required older guy mentor role in this one. I like that. Again, this is coming from the wrap. That's hilarious. And they did confirm Cumberbatch on set in Atlanta, so he is going to be in this film. So dope. How could this affect the MCU? Given Strange's involvement, the characters appearing from non-MCU Spider-Man films, and that this will also tie in some way to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Expect some multiverse hopping weirdness in this one. It could be the last time we see Spider-Man film in the MCU, given the odd joint custody between Marvel and Sony. I don't know. Here we go again. How long are they going to point a gun at us and be like, you only get Spider-Man for one more time? I'm excited for it. I love this Tom Holland Spider-Man. I love when he came into Civil War. Peter and Aunt May and like Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man. I love that scene, just the whole dynamic. It felt so Spider-Man.
Definitely pumped. I mean, I'd say overall for everything, I'm most excited for this. How I'm not sold on like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield being like big parts of the movie. I think it's just going to be a small little tease or something like that. And maybe down the road, they do a full crossover movie. Who knows?
And of course, it's going to be the last thing of the year, so it's probably going to tie in a little bit of, everything you watch in 2021 is, it's going to touch Spider-Man in some way, whether it's a little multiverse here, a little bit of government. We also have heard that Charlie Cox is possible to come back to play Daredevil and play the lawyer in this film.
Venom crossover maybe, and the whole Sinister Six possibly. Who knows?
But Morbius is coming out this year. So is Venom. So
Like,
I don't think it's off the table. It's almost like you could have snuck these in as like a subcategory on this list, because I feel like we've seen Michael Keaton's Vulture in the trailer for Morbius, the living vampire. Okay, so they're already talking about some crossover stuff, and those are happening this year. Do not let them fall off your radar. They're happening. All right, well, that's our news and rumors for today. Website we use, The Wrap. Big thanks to The Wrap for their article. Because, again, all these stories are intermingled. TV is about to get a lot more complicated. Like PC Mike said, we are here to help you out. So listen to Mostly Superheroes, and we'll make sure you're in the know with all this stuff.